May I use set of demonstrative, Your Honor?
You may.
It's just like this thing. It's not technically a demonstrative. May I proceed?
You may. Prosecution, feel free to reposition yourself if you need to see the demonstratives in advance.
All right, Mr. Bennett, how you doing?
Doing well yourself, sir.
Doing pretty good. I want to talk a little bit about Canyon Road, okay?
All right.
Now, just so we're all clear, that's the road that runs in front of your house.
Yes, sir. Drive on it every single day on the way to bingo.
That's the road where the accident occurred.
Yes, sir.
It's a curved road, right?
Well, absolutely. It's your classic country scenic road.
All right. I'm going to draw just kind of a curved road here. Now, it looks something like that, right?
Well, one of the curves does, I suppose. They're a lot in the road. It's a long road.
Right now, I want to talk about where the accident occurred, the accident that you witnessed.
All right.
That's what the curve where the accident occurred looked like, right?
Yes, sir, I suppose.
Now, you live about 100 feet from that road.
Yes, about 100 feet, I say.
I'm going to go ahead and draw a little X down here for your house.
All right.
All right? Now, it's about 100 feet from your house to where the accident actually happened.
Yes, sir.
And the accident, well, it occurred when the car ran into a tree and a utility pole.
Right. It was swerving off the road, and then it spun into the tree.
All right. Bear with me for just a minute. I'm going to draw two circles here. It's kind of a rectangle to represent the car.
It was better than mine, sir.
Now, this area, it's a pretty heavily forested area, isn't it?
Yes, sir. That's one of the things that makes living out there so wonderful.
It's lots of trees,
Yes, sir.
lots of animals.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Are they big pine trees around your house?
There are a few there, yes.
There's a few pine trees. What other kind of trees are there?
Well, it's pretty much every kind you can imagine, really. You got a few oaks, got a cherry tree or two.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Your Honor, first of all, the bar for relevance is very low, and in this case, this is relevant to show what the witness actually saw. He's telling us that there's all these trees around the road, between his house and the road. There's pine trees, there's, I believe he was saying, oak trees, there's tons of trees. And it's important and it's relevant to show that he might not have had as clear a view as he's telling us.
Objection's overruled.
So we've established that there's lots of trees.
Yes, sir, there are quite a number of different types there.
Just going to kind of draw a bunch of dots all around this road. Now, this is kind of a silly question, but trees, they have leaves on them, right?
Yes, sir, but there are actually more trees on the far side than there are on mine. I recently had a number cleared out.
There's lots of trees around this road. There's lots of trees with leaves.
Yes, depending on the season.
Now, that night, you said to me that you were making peach cobbler?
I was. I just finished that up. I was having a family reunion the next day.
Were you just taking it out of the oven when you saw this accident happen?
I just put it in before I went onto the front porch, actually.
So
Smelling quite fine at that
Okay,
time.
so you were on the front porch when you saw this accident happen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, that night, it was nighttime.
Yes, sir.
And this road, it's a pretty dark road.
It can be, yes, especially when the moon isn't shining quite nice.
That night, the moon wasn't shining.
Not that much that I can recall.
Well, you remember it was raining, right?
Yes, sir.
Not only was it raining, you would say that it was pouring.
There certainly was more rain than I'm used to for the autumn season here in Midlands.
It was as if a million buckets of water had been turned over.
One might say that, yes, sir.
Now, obviously, because it was raining so hard, there were clouds.
Well, yes, sir.
And the clouds is what was preventing both, not only the moon, but the stars from shining as well.
I would imagine that was what it was, sir.
So the only light coming from anywhere on this road was coming from your house.
Right. Well, there were also the headlights of the car.
The headlights of the vehicle and the light coming from your house. That was it.
Yes, sir.
There were no street lights on this road.
There aren't any street lights right around where my house is. Makes it wonderful for stargazing.
Now, you're sure that you didn't see any deers out there that night?
I didn't see any on the road right around the time of the accident, no.
And you're sure that none of the trees or the darkness or any of the rain, none of that played any effect into what you saw?
I had a pretty clear view from where I was, actually, sir.
Okay. Well, you know that there are lots of animals around that road.
Yes, it is the woods.
In fact, you've shot some of those animals before.
Occasionally, yes, if they get too close to the house, and wild coyotes, things like that.
You have your shotgun ready to go.
Absolutely.
That night, you had your shotgun ready to go.
I did.
Now, your dog Peaches, well, Peaches sometimes barks when animals come around. Isn't that right?
Yes, she's a very defensive little pup. She thinks she's bigger than she is.
That night, Peaches was barking in the direction of the road. Well,
She started barking right around the time there was a thunderclap. She gets a little freaked out when there's too much rain.
well, actually, when Peaches started barking, you grabbed her shotgun.
I did.
You grabbed her shotgun in case it was an animal.
Yes, sir. Better safe than sorry.
But Peaches very well might have been barking at an animal that maybe you couldn't see.
I suppose it's possible. She doesn't talk to me that much.
I want to talk some more about this road. You've seen lots of accidents on this road, haven't you, Mr. Bennett?
I've seen more than I'd like to say, sir, unfortunately.
Because you've seen so many accidents, you petitioned the city to make the road safer.
Yes, sir, I did.
One of the things you wanted the city to do was to extend the guardrails that go around this road. Isn't that right?
That was one of my suggestions. I figured it might help.
Now, the night of the accident, there were no guardrails where the accident actually occurred.
Not at that spot, no, sir.
The guardrail actually came up and then just kind of stopped before you got to the tree. Isn't
Yes.
that right? And then they were also on the other side. Right?
Yes, I do believe that's about right.
Now, since the accident has happened, the guardrails have actually been extended.
Recently, yes, they have been.
They actually now go beyond where the accident occurred.
Yes, it seems like they finally took my advice.
I'm going to draw another little line here to show where the guardrails extend. They extend farther beyond where the accident occurred, right?
Well, a little bit farther, if memory serves, yes.
And you were happy that they did that.
Yes, sir.
You thought that made the road safer.
I thought it might. Anything to help.
Now, the night of the accident, you mentioned that you went down to where the actual accident actually happened.
Yes, sir, I did.
You spoke with Mr. Dawson.
I did.
You saw Taylor Hobson.
Yes, sir, I did.
And you saw Vanessa Sullivan.
Yes.
You knew right away that something was wrong.
I certainly had a suspicion that Vanessa, she wasn't moving at all.
Mr. Dawson, he could tell that something was wrong too.
I honestly don't know, but he certainly seemed a little shaken up by the whole thing, but he just crashed into a tree. I can't blame him.
He seemed shooken up after he looked in the passenger seat and saw his friend.
Yes, sir. I'd imagine that would shake almost anyone up.
There was even a bump on his head. Wasn't there?
There might have been, yes, sir.
Now, when you saw Mr. Dawson, and when you were talking to Mr. Dawson, he wasn't slurring his words.
Not that I recall, no, sir.
He wasn't stumbling around.
He was a little, but may have been more from the accident than anything else. I don't know.
As far as you could tell, based on what you saw Mr. Dawson doing, you thought he was just shooken up.
He certainly seemed that way to me.
No further questions, Your Honor.